Well, today it's already at the point where my jeans and my shoes are so wet already that it doesn't actually matter anymore. I can walk across the street through several inches of water and I don't really give a shit because, thank you very much, bus, I'm already wet. Well, I thought today, as I've had to abandon a walking tour in the middle, which I've never had to do before in 3 rainy seasons of doing walking tours, I thought I'd film a few of the streets around here. I'm in Pahorat, which is the Indian quarter of Bangkok, and the streets around here have been turned into canals, as you will see.
1, 2, 3 Happy Diwali ขอบคุณมากครับ
I'm outside a place called Old Siam Plaza, and I've never actually been here before. I know what was here before Old Siam Plaza was built because, as you know, I'm a bit of a history buff, but I won't bore you with that on this video because this is all about the rain. So that was a fun-packed couple of hours spent over in Pahorat. Cost me a pair of shoes, but still a lot of fun. Definitely a place well worth visiting. Just avoid it after heavy rain, and don't eat too many Indian sweets as well, like I did, because I was still having sugar rushes at 3 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't sleep. So there's a lesson to be learned there. Anyway, we got lots of retro footage of Bangkok flooded over the decades, and I thought we'd start by jumping back to a time when the city council were just sort of getting to grips with flood management. They had pumps installed at various locations around the city, and it clearly wasn't enough to deal with the deluge that was flooding the streets on a regular basis. This is the early 1980s. I think nowadays those guys who do the weather forecast on TV get a bit of an easier ride because not many people watch TV to get the weather forecast anymore. They've got an app or they've got it live on their home screen on their phones. When I was a kid back in England, where the weather is famously erratic, there was a saying, it was blame it on the weatherman, and I thought that was a bit unfair because these guys are only giving you a forecast, a prediction. But back in 1987 there was a BBC weatherman who got it drastically wrong.
Good afternoon to you. Earlier on today, apparently a woman rang the BBC and said she heard that there was a hurricane on the way. Well, if you're watching, don't worry, there isn't. Don't worry, there isn't.
So if it's raining men, do you blame the weather girls? And who do you blame if it's raining cats and dogs? I don't know. Anyway, these days, people are so quick to blame climate change. So I've been doing a bit of research on climate change recently, and it's got me delving into the murky online world of social media, discussion forums, chat groups, Facebook comments, all those kind of places. And I've come to the conclusion there are 4 groups of people out there who have their biggest opinions on what climate change is or isn't. One of them are the conspiracy theorists. They will have you believe that it's all fake. It's just a worldwide manufactured government conspiracy in order to raise taxes, to spy on you, to steal your data, to bring in more lockdowns, violate your civil rights, and bring in a cashless society. Then you've got your hardline environmentalists, your Just Stop Oil mob, Extinction Rebellion, and they want you to stop using petroleum, gas and oil products immediately, right this very moment. Stop using plastic bags, start using paper straws, which are horrible by the way, and start driving electric cars. Otherwise, in 70 years' time, we're all going to roast to death unless you've got a ticket to Mars on one of Elon Musk's spaceships, of course. Then there's the other group who just say it's a natural cycle of the Earth's temperatures. It's going to go up a little bit more, and then we're going to be plunged into another ice age. And again, we're all doomed in the next 100 years. Then there's your other group, and they think it's a load of bollocks. They don't give a shit. They're happy to sit on the sofa, roll another joint, and watch another episode of Breaking Bad. So which one of those groups do you fall into? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, let's jump back to 1942. Well, despite the appearance of people having fun in that video, in truth, the 1942 floodings of Bangkok were particularly disastrous for the city, as you can imagine. And I first read about it and did some research about 7 or 8 years ago. But when I was looking into it recently for this video, I came across a couple of discussions on Facebook, and it seems there is a younger generation of more environmentally aware people out there who like to speculate. Because there was one discussion on Facebook which was generally quite civilised, but there was a couple of people going around replying to comments and being very hostile and dismissive to anyone who disagreed with their opinion that the 1942 floods and all the floods before it were because of climate change. Now correct me if I'm wrong, they weren't measuring climate change back in 1942, were they? I don't know. Anyway, the whole topic of climate change does divide opinion. I've got nothing against people rallying, protesting and lobbying to governments to get them to change things. I just don't think that throwing orange paint over stuff or gluing yourself to aeroplanes and roads or worshipping a 17-year-old girl who shouts and swears into a microphone is going to get much sympathy or support from Joe Public. That is just my opinion. There's a lot of condo tour videos out there on social media. It's almost like a production line. But in my opinion, there's only a very small number of content creators out there who do these videos well. A lot of the others come across as wide-eyed newbies who have been here 5 minutes and they're overexcited. So they feel they've got to tell the world, and that kickstarts their influencer or YouTube career. Or maybe it doesn't. Anyway, these videos follow the same beaten path. They will show you the facilities, the gym, the swimming pool. They'll give you the obligatory room tour. They'll show you the local area. And they might even show you a few hidden gems if they know any. Now, I'm not taking the piss out of these videos. They serve a useful purpose for people who are looking for that kind of thing. But one thing these videos don't tell you is what these areas are like during a particularly heavy rainy season. So the question is, if you do live in a part of Bangkok that's prone to flooding, how is that going to affect your quality of life? Well, a lot of people just accept it, live with it, and get on with it, which is fine. But what if that floodwater comes between you and where you live, and you've got to wade through that every day and get your feet wet? Yes, it is a problem. And it would have been nice if those videos told you that in the first place, but they probably didn't do the research. Flash flooding around Bangkok is common after a heavy downpour during rainy season, but nowadays drainage systems around the city have improved a hell of a lot since the catastrophe of 2011. Since 2011, there have been a lot of flood prevention measures put in place around the city to avoid a similar catastrophe. One of these is the massive improvement of the drainage systems around Bangkok, and this enables floodwater and excess rainwater to drain. Now, you may have seen a lot of construction going on around Bangkok on the banks of the canals, and what they're doing is they're heightening the flood protection walls so these canals can take more drainage, floodwater, overflow from the river and direct it away from the city down towards the Gulf of Thailand. And in some cases, when they're building these flood protection walls, they've had to move canal communities away temporarily, and then when they've moved them back, they've actually built them new social housing. So that's a great advantage of doing this improvement work. There's also been a series of flood prevention tunnels built underneath the city. I think 2 of them are actually finished, and again this will direct floodwater and excess river overflow out of the city directly into the Gulf of Thailand. You'll never see the SkyTrain running through a puddle of water like that. Then again, that would be impossible, wouldn't it? Because there would be an electrical explosion because of the DC third rail. Plus it would void the maintenance contract with Siemens, no doubt. Anyway, on to the 1970s, some more retro footage. And it was late in this decade that they started to notice cracks and breaks in the infrastructure around the city. And this was infrastructure that had been built very quickly in the 1960s when Bangkok underwent major modernisation, and lots of buildings and roads were built and canals were filled in to build some of these roads, and they started noticing cracks and breaks, and they thought to themselves, maybe this is more than just regular subsidence, maybe our city is actually sinking. So I'm doing a bit of storm chasing today, We're expecting some pretty heavy rain in a couple of hours. Well, I hope it's really heavy because I want to film it for this video. And I've come to the top of Fortune Town Mall. This is the Fortune Sky Park, which I didn't know existed. So I've got a bit of time to kill. So I thought in the meantime, I will show you some footage of the worst ever floods to hit Bangkok in the 1980s. This is 1983. I just felt the first few splashes of rain, so that means hopefully we get a serious downpour soon. And it's strange actually hoping for rain, because if I was shooting any other video and it started raining at 1 or 2 p.m, that would be the rest of my day wasted. Anyway, fingers crossed, we got a serious monsoon on the way. Well, it turned out fine after all, which is a big disappointment because this part of Ratchadapiseck Road floods really quickly when it rains heavily, and I wasn't expecting a dry day. I mean, yesterday it was so bad that they had to cut short the rehearsal for the royal barge ceremony on the Chao Phraya River. Anyway, tomorrow I'm back shooting my regular video, so I'm going to be praying for good weather, which means it will probably rain. Well, what are you supposed to do when you come down to Bang Na ready to shoot for 4 or 5 hours, but the weather turns like this? It's absolutely bucketing down with rain. I'm going to hang around for about 30 minutes, see if it improves. If not, I'll have to do some shots of the rain, I suppose. Well, that just about wraps up a rain-soaked, flood-themed video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you want to support me and support the channel, you can do so via the Buy Me a Coffee link on the screen. That just leaves me to say what I always say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you sooner than you think.